Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Joshua Inglis, and I'm really excited. I've got Bryce McKinley. If you don't know Bryce, he's crushing it. He's doing over 50 wholesale deals a month, and he's actually from Chicago originally, Chicago South Side, why you see the Chicago Sox hat. He's in Dallas now, just doing amazing things. He's got an amazing mission, helping the homeless and doing just a lot of great charity work. So, Bryce, big honor to have you here and share your story.
I know, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. And I don't know if I mentioned this, he's only been in real estate for 5 years. So to only be in real estate 5 years and doing over 50 wholesales a month is just like,
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Appreciate you sharing. So let's jump right into it. So you got started 5 years ago. Tell me how you got started in real estate.
Man, that's deep. But I'll tell you, so as a business consultant, I learned, or I lost a lot of things leading up to that day where I became involved in real estate. I won't go into all of that here, but going through this overcoming battle stage of my life, all I knew was how to come in and make businesses better. Mm-hmm. That's all I knew, right? I've worked with Ford, I've worked with Nissan, Tyco, De Beers and RDI Trading in the diamond industry, Magna Resources in the gas and oil. All I know is how to come in, make sales, and make sales processes better. That's all I've ever done. With that said, after losing everything, literally everything, and we can dig into that if you want to, this is your interview, but man, I got hired. I met some guys that needed an acquisitions guy, and they hired me. Mm-hmm. But I refused to ever work for anybody again. And so, I mean, you know my story. Like, at 8 years old, I made that decision. I will never work for somebody again. Like, that was the first time and the last time I would ever get fired from a job, right? So, man, I got asked to come work for them. You know, they went through that interview process, and I pitched them my consulting. And that was the game changer, because they didn't necessarily say yes, but they didn't say no. They convinced me to give them a shot. And I'm over here like, well, I only have a couple dollars. I'm a single dad. I'm sleeping in my car a month ago, you know. Yeah. Let's give it a shot. And what they told me was, if you come to work for us and you do 10 transactions, we'll have a conversation about making you a partner.
Sure enough, you made that happen.
23 transactions later, 30 days later,
wow,
we had a conversation.
Okay.
I didn't know that was a big feat.
Yeah.
23 transactions my first 30 days.
Again.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you think makes you so successful at being an acquisitions man, being in acquisitions, negotiating contracts? What do you think is your it factor to be able to do that without really having any experience in real estate whatsoever, to do 23 in 30 days?
And I've got some very, very sick God-given ability, first and foremost. And I've been able over the last, 10, 12 years, hone in and tweak and just perfect them, right? Mm-hmm. I've got a 5-step process to every conversation. And with that process, I've learned, even though I've always done it, I've learned that process gets people into a limiting belief and then provides a solution.
Yeah.
That's basically what it does. And so I can get you into a negative feeling about your circumstance or your situation, and then I'm the lifesaver. I put on my superhero cape, and I'm the trusted source for information. I am that superhero, and in turn, oh, thank you. You know, I get that so often. Hey, I want to thank you. So-and-so's got a house right down the road. They'd like to sell to you too. And so it's really been good to just know that this 5-step process that I go through builds some limiting beliefs and yet creates a solution for the problem that they already have in their head.
Yeah, absolutely. We're here at a weekend in Jamaica at this retreat called TAB. Great event, and you were one of the speakers, and I think one of the things that really spoke to me too is you found your life's purpose, and you're not doing this necessarily for yourself. No. So when you're doing it, I mean, I encounter a lot of people in real estate. They may not even know why they're doing it. I mean, you've really found your why too, and I mean, I think that's extremely important. So talk about your why, because I think that, well, I didn't even say I know that fuels you. So talk about that a little bit.
So I look at things, that's interesting, and I appreciate you asking, because I look at things a little different. My why and my purpose are different.
Yeah.
My why is because I have a 7-year-old at this point that 7 years ago today saved my life. Yeah. You know? When he was 9 months old, sitting in the back of the car, and I took my 40 cal and I put it in my mouth and pulled the trigger. At 9 months old, babies don't talk. He said, "Daddy, everything's gonna be okay." And I knew that I had something else to live for, you know? And in that moment, that became my why, because he believed in me.
Yeah.
And then I still get emotional. I mean, you see me on stage, bro, I was crying like a baby. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, my 7-year-old changed my life. That's my why. My purpose is to serve and add value to anyone's time, money, and family. And there's a big difference there in my head, at least in my head. You know, there's a big difference there, because my why is there, but my purpose in life is greater. I love my son. Don't take that the wrong way. But my purpose is greater than my why.
So let's talk a little bit more about your purpose too. I mean, you're doing all these real estate transactions. You're raising a phenomenal kid that I've met here at this event. Just an amazing kid, an amazing giver. And you even mentioned it too. I mean, 50% of your salary is going to essentially the homeless. I mean, that's 50%. I know that, a lot of people, like, that's an extremely aggressive giving back. That's incredible. So talk a little bit about why 50%? I mean, that is just like, again, for a lot of people, that is something really hard to even wrap their head around.
So your question is why 50%, or?
So my question is, like, you're so, like, you want to give back so much that you're giving 50% back to the homeless and other things, other charities, other causes that are bigger than you. Yeah. And, what's driving you to do that?
Because I realized that after having a son killed, my wife take her life, $50+ million in assets and businesses gone overnight, I could lose it tomorrow. And what have I done to impact the world? And I don't know where 50% came from. That's just where I really don't know. It's been that way for about 4 years now. And 50% was a number that we chose because I can live pretty comfortably off of the other 50%. And I can still fulfill my responsibilities. I'm still taking care of, my dad and my mom and my brother and all this other drama and baggage that has, in my life, right? Well, 50% of that, I can live off of that.
Yeah.
I've been blessed.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So there's really no rhyme or reason. It just works out to, there's a budget in place, and that works within my budget.
That's awesome. So let's get back to, I appreciate you sharing.
No, my pleasure, man.
Appreciate you sharing. Let's talk again a little bit about real estate. So first month, I think you said, was it 29?
23.
23, okay. So now you're averaging.
I always remember that because.
Oh, Jordan. I should have been able to remember that. Chicago.
Come on now.
So 23, you're now doing over 50. How are you keeping this all straight? I mean, To me, that's even a mind, like you have to have some incredible systems. How do you keep this straight?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, systems, delegation. I whore out tasks all the time because if they're not making me money or able to add value to my purpose, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to do it, so I'll delegate it to somebody else. But I also found that in business, when you can add tasks to someone else's mentality and they take it on as a responsibility, you empower them. I've got a VA that 5 years ago was just a VA screening phone calls. And now she has a multi-million-dollar IT company, and she's built out IT systems and CRMs for like 90% of these guys, right?
Yeah. Wow. It's
been an honor and a blessing. So that within itself is half of my system. I'm a Christian. I don't follow religion, but theology I'm a big steward of, right? But the first thing that Christ said, it was all about mindset, right? He said, put your hand back to the plow, you're not fit for the kingdom. And that's a scripture. That's where I'm at. It's all mindset. And we hear that, we see that, but it's like, what is the application there? And then I teach that. I teach what that application looks like. Simple steps through my morning routine. I've got a 5-year-old. We've been at a retreat, had a few drinks this week. I'm still up at 5 a.m. every morning. Some days my bags are bigger than others, sure. But I've been up at 5 a.m. every morning. Between 6 and 7, I'm going through my affirmations and my meditations and things like that. I have some applicable steps that anybody can do as long as they're serious about working those steps. Yeah. And so it boils down to steps and processes and mindset and putting people in the right place sooner than later.
So let's talk about mindset. What's your daily routine that you mentioned there? Because obviously every day, again, your why and your purpose are really driving you. So how do you get yourself in that mindset? What do you do on a daily basis?
Will you hand me my phone, please? That's a great question. So I have a morning routine, and my morning routine starts out at 5 a.m., and it starts out very simply, make your bed. You're like, what?
The book.
You familiar with it? Okay.
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah, it's a simple little task.
Make your bed. I mean, it sounds stupid. Make your bed. If you win your morning, you'll conquer your day. Mm-hmm. Every morning I wake up and make my bed. The coolest part about it is I walk in and my 7-year-old's got his bed made and he's already reading Grant Cardone's Millionaire booklet. Like, he knows this is what we do.
Yeah.
And so I say that because I wanted to pull this up and read this because I think that this is super vital. This is something that I wrote a while back, but my morning routine, and I'll show it to you. I printed this out. My morning routine goes through my guaranteed 3 or my gem deposits. So for the next 3 hours, I go through 20 minutes of affirmations, purpose, my I ams, my I wills, what I will do. The next 20 minutes I write in a gratitude journal, a minimum of 5 things with details and thoughtfulness behind the text. And then I store that because my son, we have an afternoon routine as well and an evening routine. I don't pick him up and say, hey, how was school today? What'd you have for lunch? I say, hey, did you get to say thank you to 3 people today? Did you ask for forgiveness if you messed up? Tell me about your day. Was it in line with your journal? Things like that, right? And that's been the biggest impact of my life is to see how my 7-year-old has been able to empower other kids. And as manipulative as that sounds, he is serving them.
Absolutely.
It's been so cool. So back to this. Visualization. So for the next 20 minutes, I've got 3 different vision boards. I don't do my vision boards like everybody else does. I don't have them up so I can look at them. I sit down for 20 minutes and visualize myself and where I'm at. A perfect example, you just want to talk about some miracles, right? I was visualizing last year that I would have a Lamborghini. And not just any Lamborghini. This is a Lamborghini Huracan with a matte finish with red trim.
Pretty specific.
You know how long it took? 30 days. I kid you not. Because I seen myself driving it. I seen myself on the freeway. And my visualizations, I was role playing. For 20 minutes, I would sit there and watch myself driving my Lamborghini through the hills and just 200 plus miles an hour. Now, when I got it, it scared the crap out of me. And I only drove it 3 times and I sold it. But I got it. I'm just saying. And it's not very pretty to see a 6'5", 250-pound dude roll out of a Lambo.
Yeah.
Just saying. So that's where I go. So visualizations, my gratitude, and then I go into a 30-minute routine of devotion. You know, I read Proverbs. Every morning I read a full chapter of Proverbs because there's 31 days or 31 chapters in Proverbs, and give or take there's 30 to 31 days in the month. Except for February. And so you read a chapter a day and watch what happens to your mind. It's nothing but wisdom in the Proverbs. You don't have to be religious to read the Proverbs because it talks about your mind. It talks about your heart. It talks about serving people. It talks about gaining wisdom and knowledge and surrounding yourself with others. So you don't have to believe in the whole theology side of it, but Proverbs has tons of wisdom.
Absolutely.
And they're very applicable. And then I take my son to school. I mean, I block it. I take my son to school and I come back, and for the next, hour and a half, I work out. And I work out with audio, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, Matt Maddox in my ear for the next 45 minutes to an hour. That's my morning routine.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you're setting up your day, you're giving thanks, you're working out your brain, you're learning, and then you're working out your body, getting your body moving. So now that your day is set up, so I think you end your morning routine around 9.
Real quick, I'm sorry. And anybody that knows of anybody that's got a Bentley Moussan, I'm visualizing myself driving that right now. And I poured coffee in it. I spilled coffee in it the other day, and so today when I woke up, I actually visualized myself like cleaning the coffee, and I didn't get it out. So tomorrow I've got to take the new Bentley that I'm gonna get, that I have. I got to take it to the cleaners. That's the type of visualization.
That is next level. Like you see yourself already getting it messy.
I was mad. I woke up and I was mad. I was like, I got to take the car to the cleaners tomorrow. Like that, it's real for me.
That's awesome.
And it works.
So, no, don't be sorry. That's awesome. I think a lot of people do visualization, but to that, I would call it, I don't want to say extreme, but to that level is incredible.
It's vital.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only look at something for so long. It's when you start acting as if and you start engaging that into your mind pattern, it comes. When you give good, good will give back. And so I see myself in that situation. I'm being intentional and not reactionary.
Well, I know I saw you role play earlier on another interview you were doing here for this event. You're just great on the phones, and so I know that's been crucial to your success. And what I noticed from with the role playing you did was that you genuinely will care about someone when they're telling you, this is who I am. This is what I do. So talk a little bit about building rapport on the phone. And I think a lot of people, I was amazed at how long it took you to start talking about the house.
Yeah.
It was like, to me, I think a lot of people, and I've noticed this myself, like I've been to a lot of homes where someone might say, hey, I'm not the highest offer, but they liked me because I didn't go straight to business.
Yeah.
I took the time to learn about them, learn about their situations. So tell me a little bit about that and how you're building rapport and why you have a much substantially higher conversion rate than most people.
Sure. I mean, I appreciate that you recognize that. I mean, at the end of the day, people like talking about themselves, right? I mean, people legitimately enjoy speaking about themselves, what they do, who they are, and where they're going. Especially where they're going, right? So I do what's called FORM, F-O-R-M, family, occupation, recreation, and motivation, okay? And when I say form, it's an acronym to keep me in line as I train other people. But when you go into a communication event or you go into an opportunity to build rapport, what is rapport? Rapport is, broken into rap and port, right? And rapport, it's broken down to rapping and sharing communication. And port is the combination of what that does linguistically to our subconscious and how that pour and how we merge together, right? That's what rapport means. And so I've taken that to a next level and put some language around it. And so I'm talking about people's family, as if I'm walking into a house, I'm looking around, man, this is a great house. Looks like you've got lots of memory. Oh, who is this? Mm-hmm. Like I'll point to a picture just to get my gear started. Yeah. Is this your wife? Oh no, that's my daughter. Oh well, she is beautiful. How many kids do you have? I mean, it's Friday afternoon. How do you have time to meet me? What kind of work do you do that you can meet me on a Friday afternoon? Yeah.
Exactly.
And getting them engaged, talking about their family, talking about their occupation. It's Friday. Any big plans for the weekend? What kind of things do you like to do for fun? Talk about their recreation, and then their motivation is last. It's last for a reason, because now you can go into my step 2 where you start bridging that gap. You start taking all of the fun stuff and you start building a limiting belief. Motivation. Why am I here? Yeah. Right? What is the purpose? Why do you need to sell your house today? Or what are you looking for when you sell your house today? Start bridging that gap, right? And then the third step, and you didn't ask me about my steps, but I've just kind of
No, that's all right.
The third step is those defeating questions and how you take those questions from their family to the pains that they're experiencing and start to see where you can add that value to them, right? And knowing what you're going to use against them to close. And I say that respectfully, you're going to use it against them because they told you all of this stuff they didn't realize that you did. So when you use it against them, they can't really object to much.
Yeah.
So that's my process.
It's awesome, and I don't know if we mentioned this. Your closing ratio is about 1 in 10,
correct,
approximately. Which is, if you're a real estate investor and you're wholesaling, that's an incredible conversion rate.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your business now. Now you're on the phones. What's your involvement in the business today?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So at the end of the day, my whole philosophy is work on and not in. However, I've had an opportunity to be partnered with some guys, and my role now is front lines. I'm managing acquisitions, and so we've got 2 other acquisitions persons right now that are constantly out prospecting and fielding calls and things like that. My personal position is meeting with them. Tuesday through Thursday we meet, Tuesday through Friday, and then we have a big meeting with all of our team on Wednesday. This is simply to facilitate things. I'm a facilitator. Over that acquisition side. And then I time block in between 2 and 4. If my phone rings and I can grab a deal, I'm going to grab a deal. Mm-hmm. And I'm closing every single deal that I possibly can, And so, my role is really the acquisition side and facilitating the conversations and training behind that.
Yeah, I think, we've been here, again, if you're watching this is a whiles after this is being published, but we're at a week-long retreat in Jamaica, and yet you closed how many deals since you've been here?
As of last night, I've closed 23 transactions at this retreat.
Which is incredible, because it's not like we're here really on vacation. There's parts of it that are vacation, but we're working through, these are long days and lots of networking. So that's an incredible.
Well, and it's fun too, because I can do this anywhere in the world because of the scale and people in place. I'm going to Hawaii and Vietnam and Australia next month, or the next 2 months. I'm going to be all over the world between speaking and other engagements that I've got going on. I'm still going to be doing transactions. It's not, I mean, I've got some KPIs that I have to hit for my own personal, right? And so I can do what I do anywhere in the world, and that's because I've given permission and responsibilities and tasks to other people and allowed that to empower them to make this their business.
So I have just a fun question for you.
Yeah.
So when you're on vacation and you're at a hotel, are you making your bed?
I do. I do.
So the cleaning staff love you.
I'm actually really weird about this. So if you follow me to my room right now, my do not disturb sign is on. I don't let anybody in my room because that's like my sanctuary.
Okay.
But my bed is made. My bed is made. My towels are folded. I am very, very OCD. Like,
Okay.
yeah, nobody comes in my room.
Just a fun question.
They love me because, like, if I have room service, like Cranston, my
Yeah.
son and I, we had room service the other day, and we pretend we have different hats. I don't know if you were there when I was talking about this the other night by the pool. You know, we had a dinner. Like, we role play because my son is actually a consummate introvert, but you would have not noticed it had you seen him on stage today. Like, he gets hype. He puts on a different role when it's showtime.
Absolutely.
And we ordered all this food, and I'm over here at the end like, what are you gonna have to eat, son? He's like, I don't know, I'm gonna eat some of the hamburger. What are you doing? We're like role playing like 5-6 different characters, right? So the room service probably is like, what in the hell? There's 2 people, it's a kid and his dad, and they've got like 4 trays. We had 4 trays of like empty, half-eaten food all over. It was so wasteful, and now that I think about it, that sounds horrible.
Yeah. But yeah, you're making memories with your
But
son.
it was a blast, right? Like, I can make up for it somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
God, that sounded horrible after I said it out loud. Just wasted like half of these people's years worth of food. I'm like, ah.
Yeah. So tell me, I mean, somebody might be watching this and maybe they're struggling in their business, maybe they're struggling in their life. Let's talk about their life first, and then we'll talk business last. So somebody who's struggling in their life, and I guess, you know, I mean, your life changed once you found your purpose, found your why. How do you recommend people do that for themselves?
You know, I mean, that's such a broad question.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
I would say find out who God is. You know, at the end of the day, mimic. One of my things that I read, and I think at some point I want to read this if we're okay with that. Mm-hmm. I found my purpose and I put it on paper. I'm not married yet, but it says that I'm a loving husband, for example. Like, I am who I am. And so when I become, I'm already being, right? So for me, it was more so about like the passion and how I found him, not about all the legalistics. You know, it's not about religion for me. It's about the relationship. And so if you can sit down and have a coming to Jesus moment, as they say, and genuinely be in that as a relationship, that will change the rest of everything that you do. And what does that look like? Well, you asked me a question. You're quiet because you're listening. And then you speak and I listen. That's how a relationship is formed, right? It's a give and take. It's the same thing. And so to answer your question, you have to be able to maintain a relationship and not a selfish one. Because when you get down on your luck and you're like me 7 years ago, when I decided, F it, I was done. Like, I'm not in control here. I realize that because I'm sitting here 7 years to the day. And so I had to figure out what that relationship was. It wasn't always about me saying, hey, I need you right now. I need you. It was, maybe he needs me to recognize who he is. Maybe he needs me to step out and shut up and listen. There's a Bible for a reason, you know? You don't have to subscribe to not theology, but to religion. But I promise you, you pick up a Bible, you pick up, you know, some sort of spiritual guidance and watch how that leads you into that relationship, and you listen and pay attention, and then when you cry out and you pray, it's like a give and take. And you will literally hear God speak to you. It's crazy. It's a crazy idea, but I promise you it works.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing. So we'll go back to business again. What if somebody's struggling in their business, or they're just trying, let's talk about somebody who wants to get into real estate. Let's start there. What would you recommend to someone that says, hey, I want to become a real estate investor. I want to get into business. What advice would you give someone who doesn't have any experience but wants to get started?
You know, I don't know that I have the perfect answer for that. I mean, I would say just get started. There's thousands and thousands of free content out there, but you don't want to get what they call in the coaching business, paralysis by analysis. Mm-hmm. And so I would say find one system and work it. But don't make excuses because you're not having the same results. Work on that, Find a system that's been proven and work it, For me, it happened to be wholesaling. I truly believe, and just like a lot of the other, facilitators out there or gurus or whatever, I really truly feel that wholesaling is the easiest, quickest way to get involved in real estate without having any responsibility. I don't need money to show up and close a deal because I'm going to bring somebody else. So if you want to get started, just get started. Find somebody that's doing something big. And if you don't know somebody, I'll take you. I've done a few deals, Yeah. And now hopefully you know that I've got a for-purpose business for a reason, and it's been beautiful. It really is. So to answer your question, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Get started. Quit reading thousands of different pamphlets and training manuals and thousands of 10,000 YouTube videos. Just start doing it. Start looking at the income-producing activities and start moving forward.
Awesome. What would you say that's to someone going to the second part of that? Maybe they're in business now. Maybe they've done some bad deals, or I see this a lot. I've done coaching, and I've been on both sides of coaching, of course. But giving coaching and seeing people in my marketplace, maybe they do a deal and then they get a bad taste in their mouth and they don't want to do real estate anymore because they lose money. What advice would you have to someone, maybe they've done a few deals and they lost money, what advice would you give someone that might be struggling financially and they're looking to, what do I do next? Again, that's a broad.
Yeah, I mean, you ask some tough questions there because it's really going to depend on their circumstances, their situations, and where they're at, right? So every single person is going to have a different perspective and a different mindset, as we talked about, but also different opportunities available to them. And so I would say, to answer that question, reach out. I mean, there's 10,000 RIA groups on Facebook. Join a Facebook group and reach out and ask some questions. Go to a meetup. I've not went to meetups in 5 years of business in real estate. In other businesses I had, but I was just so focused and had my head down. I just worked. I've never been to a real estate meetup until about February of this year. Mm-hmm. And now I'm speaking. This is my 5th one that I've spoke at, and I've been to 6.
Yeah.
The one that I didn't speak at was, I've got a kid in Japan that I flew in to speak at.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's been amazing to see the bond and transformation that happens in other people's lives when you're able to pour into them, but more importantly, add value by asking them questions because they like talking about it.
Yeah, I think you bring up a phenomenal point. It's the network.
Yeah.
It's the network. I mean, there's so many resources that weren't available even 5 years ago that are out there now. Yeah. And I know you even have a Facebook group, so talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, before I go into that, I want to, just say thank you, man. I appreciate this interview and the opportunity to add value to your audience and anybody watching. But my Facebook group is Virtual Wholesaling 101 prospecting objections and rebuttals. And I don't take just anybody. I look to see if they've answered the questions, to see if they've said, hey, so-and-so referred me, hey, seen you at Tab Retreat, whatever that is, and then I let them in. I could have 20,000 people in there right now if I wanted, but I've got maybe 1,800 people in there. We meet every Wednesday at 12 Central. I did it from Jamaica this week. It was amazing. We do a live Zoom call. We do a live Zoom call where we do Q&A and role playing, objection, rebuttal, and then, the 12, 13 students that I've had over the last 8, 9 months that I'm coaching, they're in there prospecting. They're in there cold calling live so that other people can see the hardest part of our business is being vulnerable and putting ourselves out there and taking action. These guys are doing it. And that's awesome. That's my group. There's several other, like you said, but that's the group that I focus on with my students and others that are following me.
Awesome. Well, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so Facebook, if you, facebook.com, search Bryce McKinley. I think it's like Bryce.McKinley.75. I don't know why that is, but.
You're the 75th Bryce McKinley, I guess.
Maybe that's how that algorithm is. Sharpen Sold Out on Instagram. Virtual Host Selling 101, Prospecting Objections and Rebuttals group. And man, if you're interested in chatting with me one-on-one, you can always jump on my calendar at calendly.com/sharpen/15 minutes. My 15-minute consults I do for free, first come, first serve. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me, is jump on my calendar.
Bryce, I appreciate you taking this time, brother, and keep up all the amazing work you're doing. Thank you guys so much for watching.
God bless. Stay sharp. We'll see you at the top.